depending on what your favorite NBA team is, during the offseason, you'll usually fall under one of three categories, with one being that your team had a really good offseason and you just can't wait to go into the next year, right? See all your new players and your new talent play together. Two being that your team had a kind of a quiet offseason, not really much happened. Maybe you're a championship contending team already, and it really just made no sense for you to make any moves. And three being that your team had a terrible offseason. Maybe you traded away some of your key players. Maybe you're going for a rebuild that no one knows how long it'll last for. Or maybe your team traded for Chris Paul. Either way, no matter what team you're a fan of, you fall under one of those categories. And if you're not a Kings fan, you would probably say that the Kings fall under the second category. That being, it was a quiet offseason, not really much happened. They didn't really make any crazy moves, but you could not be more wrong. Now, the Kings maybe didn't go out and get someone like Kyle Kuzma or go out and get someone like Pascal Siakam, but they did really get underrated low-key pickups that no one is going to talk about until they actually see the players play and have great moments on the court. Starting with the pickup of Chris Duarte, I absolutely love the idea of having Chris Duarte on the Sacramento Kings. He's a player who paired really well with Sabonis for his 1 year in Indiana. Now, you're probably wondering why I said 1 year, not 2 years. Well, because the second year he was basically injured the entire time and really didn't get to see his full potential. So that's why I say 1 year in Indiana. But like I was saying, he had a great connection with Sabonis while he was there, and to see them already back together as friends is just great to see. I love seeing chemistry stuff like this, chemistry moves. Duarte, though, is more than a good teammate and a good chemistry piece with Sabonis. He's a great shooter, great catch and shoot, but also great off the dribble, especially working with the screen, which we saw a lot with when it comes to him and Sabonis. Something I do hope that we see a little bit more from him is him driving to the basket and really attacking the rim. I feel like he has such great potential when it comes to this, but he doesn't really show it much, although he does have a lot of flashes when he does. And overall, Monte McNair is just insanely smart for making this move. Pacers feeling like Duarte maybe didn't fit their future there. Monte really swept in on a buy low moment coming off of his injury, like we said earlier. We still don't really know how good he can be, so bringing him back with his old teammate in Sabonis and already a great team and a great cast and great coaching staff, I mean, it's just great. It's the perfect opportunity for him to grow his game and grow into what he really can be. Now, obviously, no one is going to be talking about this Duarte trade. It's not going to be something you see on ESPN. It's not going to be something you see on TNT, but I think it will be something that you hear about after you see a game where maybe he scores 20, 30 points, or just a moment where he's the spark off the bench and he's the one who really motivates and pushes the team to win the game. That's when it'll become a conversation of, oh my God, what did the Kings even give up for this guy? At least that's what I'm hoping we see. And when I say this, I'm not trying to compare them in any way, but I feel like this is going to be a lot similar to the Kevin Huerter type trade, where it really wasn't until halfway through the next season where people went, oh my God, wait, the Kings have Kevin Huerter? And it was just a whole thing where the Kings basically gave up nothing for Kevin Huerter. I think we will see a repeat of that with Duarte. My camera died and I'm on a very low budget setup, as you could tell by my monitors and myself sitting on the floor. Now, before I go on to talk about the MVP talent that the Sacramento Kings signed this year, I want to talk about Nerlens Noel first. Nerlens Noel is a pickup that no one's really going to talk about, and honestly, I understand, because we are looking at possibly a third string center here. With the Kings re-signing Alex Len, I feel like he will be the backup center position. I could be wrong and Mike Brown could have something else in store, but either way, I actually do really like the idea of Nerlens Noel being on this team. Although he's kind of had 3 years of really nothing in the NBA, he's in a position now where he's on a contending team and needs to really push for something and prove himself, and I think that that's something really special and something that could really get the most out of this guy. And in case you haven't gotten the memo, in this year's offseason for Monte McNair, it's a very buy low offseason, because once again, Nerlens Noel was a productive center. He averaged, I think, 2 blocks for a majority of his career, and in the last 3 years, he's kind of dropped off. So once again, this is a great time for Monte McNair to swoop back in and try to pick up some underrated talent. But one thing that Kings fans aren't talking about much is the fact that the Kings really suffered from no injuries last year. I want to say they were actually one of the healthiest teams in the NBA, but don't quote me on that. With the biggest injury I could really think about being Sabonis' thumb, which although it was a very serious injury, he still pushed through and played through that. So Nerlens Noel is a guy who could be there at that backup center position if Sabonis, I don't even want to say the words. I don't want to say the words. You know what I'm saying? Nerlens Noel is on the roster in case anything happens to anyone. All right, it is now time to talk about Sasha Vezenkov. As we all know, the MVP coming out of the EuroLeague. Sasha is someone who I've actually been so hyped up on since we actually acquired him in the trade, since we got his draft rights from, I think, Cleveland. I mean, you can go back. One of my first videos is me talking about Sasha Vezenkov and how Luka Doncic has competition, or whatever the fuck I titled it. I don't recommend you watch it. I actually rewatched it for the first time in a long time, and it was a terrible video. Please don't watch it. But for those who do not know, Sasha Vezenkov is a highly decorated player coming out of Europe, an insane three-point sniper. I mean, that's something that everyone has been talking about, is the fact that this man scored, I think, 200 something points off of barely any dribbles. But besides all of his three-point shooting, because that's what a lot of people talk about, because that is the main point of his game, he's also great at attacking the basket and getting into the paint and being able to finish. So I'm just incredibly excited to see Sasha Vezenkov finally step foot onto an NBA court, because I honestly didn't know if it would happen. I didn't know if he would be willing to join the Sacramento Kings. He's a player who knows his worth. He knows that he could stay in the EuroLeague, make great money, and be a great player and a key player and be the star for a team. But he knows that he would also have a good role in Sacramento, which is why he decided to make the move over, because he knows he's going to have a solid backup role and he could really help push his team for something that they've never done before, that being an NBA championship. Another thing as well, with the amount of people that come from the EuroLeague that say that scoring in the NBA is easier, it makes me 10 times more excited to see Sasha play, because if scoring is easier in the NBA and this guy scored 200 points off of like 5 or 11 dribbles in the EuroLeague, oh boy, are we in for a treat. Now, with that being the end of all the signings from the Sacramento Kings, and before we get into the rookies, I want to quickly talk about Keegan Murray. I know he doesn't count as an offseason pickup or anything like that, but I just want to talk about his improvement so far in this year's offseason, because Keegan has spent all of offseason working with De'Aaron Fox, which, I mean, if you're working with De'Aaron Fox, you're going to improve. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But after seeing him play in the Summer League, which, by the way, I want to say, why do people have problems with sophomore players playing in Summer League? I don't see how a player wanting to get more reps and get more work in is a bad thing. That's just my thought. I don't know. You do you. I think he only played 2 games and one of them he scored 40 or something like that. And I'm not trying to say that he's going to have this huge jump because he played great in Summer League. I know that that doesn't actually compare to NBA talent, but hearing stories from the Kings coaching staff and other scouts around the league saying that the jump he's going to have from rookie to sophomore year is like Kawhi Leonard. They said very clearly they're not trying to compare the two. Not saying that Keegan Murray is like year 2 Kawhi Leonard, but the jump is that same kind of jump. There's also belief that Keegan Murray will be the #1 option eventually in Sacramento, which are just things that is insane to comprehend. Like the fact that they already see this stuff coming in him, in his second year is mind-blowing, but it makes me just even more excited, because if Keegan Murray can develop into the player that these people are saying he can be, oh my god, the Kings are going to be holding up that championship trophy in no time. Moving on to Jalen Slauson, the one of 2 rookies that the Sacramento Kings acquired in this year's NBA draft. I really don't have much to say about Jalen Slauson. With him being a two-way player, we won't really be seeing him play much for the actual Sacramento Kings main roster, even though he's a great defensive talent. I mean, great defensive talent. This block alone in Summer League had me jumping out of my chair. This shit was mind-blowing. Colby Jones, on the other hand, was someone who I really loved to watch, although it was 3 a.m. when Summer League was happening because I was in Paris. The highlights and the recaps and stuff I saw from Colby Jones was just fantastic. A great playmaker and catch and shoot player, but at the same time, what I love most from Colby Jones is the fact that he plays with so much heart and so much hustle and just makes those winning moves, those moves that you really need to push your team over the edge. So seeing Colby Jones as a 3rd string point guard, 3rd string guard in general for the Kings main roster, I wouldn't be upset about. I would honestly be okay with that. So yeah, after all that, I feel like the Sacramento Kings are left with a really good roster and also some of the best depth in the NBA. If you agree or disagree, let me know down in the comments. I am always reading every comment and responding to everyone. And before I end the video, I want to talk really quickly about where I've been. If you're wondering why I haven't uploaded in about 2 weeks, it is because I've been very busy with both vacations and moving across the country, which is why I'm currently sitting on the floor in a random Airbnb. But I'm finally slowly getting back to being able to upload and record more videos. So yeah, it might take a little bit of time to get used to, and I do apologize for being gone for so long, but I am finally coming back and really getting back into the grind of things. With that being said, if you guys all enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe. Click the video up on the screen if you did enjoy, and I'll see you guys all next video. Later.